My family kicked me out of their fancy hotel party like I was some random stranger. But everything changed when security approached me and said the owner of the suite needed to see me immediately. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Avery Dalton, I'm 26, and for as long as I can remember, my family has treated me like I'm the one who never measures up. It didn't matter how hard I worked or how much I tried to support them. Nothing I did ever seemed good enough. My older cousin, Marissa, was always the one they bragged about. She ran a small boutique and posted perfect pictures with perfect outfits, and suddenly she became the successful one, the golden girl who represented the family. Meanwhile, I worked long, exhausting hours at a nonprofit, helping families who had nobody. My job wasn't glamorous, and it didn't come with shiny achievements my family could show off. To them, I was just ordinary, a background character in my own family story. When my grandparents decided to host their grand anniversary celebration at the Astridge Hotel, I honestly didn't expect much. Still, a tiny part of me hoped they'd want me there. I wasn't even asking for a special seat, just a simple invitation, just a moment to feel included. But the invitation never came. I found out about the party because my younger brother sent me a picture of the event flyer. I tried to convince myself they just forgot to send mine, that maybe it was lost in the mail or someone misspelled my name. But deep down, I knew exactly what it meant. They didn't think my presence mattered. I still went, not to join the party, but to drop off a handmade gift for my grandparents. I spent hours creating a scrapbook filled with old photos, memories, and letters they once wrote to each other. It was personal, meaningful, and something I knew they'd treasure. I thought I could hand it to them quietly and slip out. But the moment I walked into the lobby, my Aunt Lynette spotted me. Her face tightened like she'd seen a stain on the carpet. "Avery, you're not on the list," she said loudly, loud enough for guests to turn and stare. "This event is for family and invited guests only." My chest tightened. "I am family," I said softly. She waved her hand like she was shooing away a problem. "Tonight is important. We can't have distractions." Then she signaled security, over a scrapbook. Over me. I walked out of the hotel with tears stinging my eyes, humiliated, hurt, and exhausted from years of pretending I didn't care. And that's when a hotel security officer jogged toward me, breathless. "Ma'am," he said, "the owner of the suite is requesting to see you." Immediately. And in that moment, everything changed. I walked into the hotel lobby holding the scrapbook I made for my grandparents, hoping I could just give it to them quietly and leave. I wasn't planning to stay. I didn't even dress for a party. I just wanted them to have the gift I worked on for days. But before I could take more than a few steps, my Aunt Lynette spotted me. Her eyes narrowed, and she walked toward me like I was some kind of problem she needed to remove. She didn't even lower her voice. "She's not part of tonight's event," she told the hotel staff, pointing right at me. Her voice was so loud that people nearby actually stopped talking. I could feel their eyes on me, judging me, wondering why I was being rejected at the door like that. My cheeks burned, but I held on to the gift and tried to stay calm. "I'm just here to give this to Grandma and Grandpa," I said quietly, lifting the scrapbook a little. "I'll leave right after." But Lynette didn't care. She crossed her arms and shook her head. "Avery, this is a private event for guests who were invited. We don't need any confusion tonight." Then came the worst part. Marissa walked up beside her, dressed like she was walking a runway. She smirked at me in that way she always does, the kind that says she knows she's the favorite. "She really showed up?" she whispered loudly enough for relatives to hear. "Seriously, this isn't for people who can't even afford to be here." A few people laughed. I pretended I didn't hear it, but every word cut deep. I forced a small smile, even though my throat felt tight. "I'm not trying to join the party," I said. "I just want to drop this off." Marissa rolled her eyes and turned away like the conversation bored her. Before I could say anything else, Lynette made a little hand gesture toward security. 2 guards stepped closer and one of them said, "Ma'am, we've been asked to walk you out." I stared at him for a second, feeling my stomach twist. Being humiliated by my family was one thing, but being escorted out like a troublemaker? That felt like a new level of hurt. Still, I didn't fight it. I held the scrapbook against my chest and let them lead me toward the exit. My steps felt heavier with every second. I tried not to cry, but I could feel the sting behind my eyes. All I wanted was to give a gift, but they made sure I knew I didn't belong, not even for a moment. I hadn't even reached the parking lot when my phone buzzed. It was my younger brother, Colton. He almost never calls during family events, so I knew something wasn't right. I answered, trying to keep my voice steady even though my chest still felt tight from what had just happened. He didn't even say hello. He started with a long sigh. Avery, I just heard what happened at the entrance. I'm so sorry. I leaned against my car, trying not to let the tears slip out. It's fine, I said, even though it clearly wasn't. I just wanted to give Grandma and Grandpa their gift. That's all. There was a long pause on his end. Then he spoke in a quieter voice. Avery, they didn't forget to invite you. It wasn't a mistake. My heart dropped a little. I'd hoped deep down that maybe someone just overlooked it. What do you mean? I asked softly. He hesitated for a moment, then said, I heard Aunt Lynette talking to Mom earlier. She said Marissa didn't want you here. She said tonight was important for her business connections, and she wanted the spotlight to shine on, her words, people who actually bring pride to the family. I closed my eyes as the words hit me. People who bring pride. It was like someone punched me in the stomach. For years, I had tried to make my family proud in my own quiet way. I worked hard, helped people every day, stayed out of trouble. Yet somehow none of that counted. Colton kept talking. Mom didn't defend you. Dad didn't either. They just said they didn't want drama. They thought it was easier if you just didn't come. I didn't know what hurt more, Marissa wanting me gone, or my own parents not fighting for me. I always knew they preferred Marissa's shiny achievements and perfect image. But I never thought they would fully agree to leave me out of a family celebration. Not like this. I'm sorry, Colton repeated, his voice shaking a little. If I had known sooner, I would have said something. I swallowed hard, forcing the tears back. It's not your fault. But inside, everything was breaking. I felt ashamed, like I had done something wrong just by existing. Yet at the same time, a different feeling was building up, anger. A kind I hadn't felt in years. How could they throw me away so easily? How could they think so little of me? How could my own parents stay silent? I looked down at the scrapbook still in my hands. Hours of work. Memories that mattered to me, even if they didn't matter to them. I'm heading home, I told Colton softly. Thanks for telling me. We hung up, and I sat in my car for a moment, staring out at the bright hotel lights. They looked warm and beautiful from the outside, but inside, they had just shown me exactly how cold my family could be. I wiped my eyes, started the engine, and drove away, ashamed, furious, and determined never to let them break me like that again. I drove away from the hotel, my eyes still stinging, but underneath all the hurt was a truth my family didn't know, something that changed everything. They treated me like I didn't belong, like I was beneath them, but they had no idea what had happened in my life just weeks earlier. It started with a letter from a lawyer. When I first saw it, I didn't think much of it. I thought maybe it was just old paperwork or some document I needed to sign. But when I read the name, Mr. Halden, my heart sank. He was the man who mentored me years ago, the only person who believed in me when I felt invisible. He taught me how to lead, how to think clearly, and how to trust my own choices. He had passed away quietly, and I had gone to his small memorial thinking that was the end of our story. A few days after that, his lawyer contacted me. I sat in a small, cold office, confused about why someone like me would even be part of a meeting like that. The lawyer handed me an envelope that felt too heavy for its size. When I opened it, I froze. He had left me part of his shares in the Astridge Hotel chain. Not a tiny amount. Not a symbolic token. 25%. I stared at the papers for a long time, thinking there was a mistake. Why would someone trust me, a woman working at a nonprofit, barely keeping up with bills, with something so big? But the lawyer explained that Mr. Halden had seen potential in me. He admired the way I worked, the way I treated people, and the way I always tried to help others, even when nobody helped me. He wrote in his letter that he believed I would protect the company's values better than anyone else. I walked out of that building feeling like my legs might give out. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents. Not Colton. Not even my closest coworker. I needed time to process what this meant. I spent nights reading documents, learning about the business, and slowly getting used to the idea that I now had real power and responsibility. But tonight, standing in the parking lot after being pushed out like trash, the weight of that secret felt different. It wasn't overwhelming, it was grounding. While Marissa insulted me, while my aunt embarrassed me in front of strangers, while my parents stayed silent, all of it happened inside a hotel I partly owned. They had no idea that the building they were celebrating in, the staff they ordered around, the ballroom they decorated, all of it was partly mine. For the first time that night, the shame and hurt mixed with something else, strength. They thought they could discard me easily. But they didn't know the truth. I wasn't powerless anymore. Not even close. I had barely started my car when I noticed a hotel security guard walking toward me. My stomach tightened, unsure if they were there to scold me further or just to make sure I left. The guard stopped a few feet away, hands folded in front of him, looking polite but serious. "Ma'am," he said, his voice calm, "the owner of the main suite has requested to see you." Right away. I blinked, my grip tightening on the steering wheel. My mind raced. The owner of the suite? Why would they want to see me? I had no idea what this could mean. Nobody in my family would ever ask for me. Not Marissa, not my aunt, not even my parents. I felt a mix of confusion, fear, and curiosity swirl in my chest. I stepped out of the car slowly, clutching my bag. "Me?" I asked, my voice shaking a little. "Are you sure?" The guard nodded politely. "Yes, ma'am. Please follow me." I hesitated for a moment, glancing back toward the hotel. The lights from the ballroom shone brightly, and I could see the faint figures of my family through the windows, laughing and celebrating, completely unaware of me standing here. My hands tightened around the strap of my bag. For a second, I wondered if this was some kind of prank, some way to humiliate me even more. But the guard's expression didn't change. There was no hint of judgment, no smirk, just a calm insistence that I follow him. I realized that whatever this was, it wasn't my family calling the shots. It was something else, something I couldn't yet understand. I walked toward him, still unsure of what was happening. Every step felt heavy, like I was walking into unknown territory. My heart beat faster with each step. What if it's bad news? I thought. What if it's another way to humiliate me in front of everyone? Despite my fear, a small part of me felt a strange spark of hope. Maybe this wasn't about them at all. Maybe someone else saw something in me that my family couldn't. We walked through a side hallway, quiet and dimly lit, far away from the party and the laughing crowds. I tried to steady my breathing, telling myself to stay calm, but my mind was racing. Who could want to see me? Why? Finally, we reached a door at the end of the hallway. The guard nodded toward it. "This is the suite, ma'am. They're expecting you." I took a deep breath and stepped forward, my hands trembling slightly. Whatever was waiting behind that door, I knew this moment could change everything. My family had kicked me out, humiliated me, and left me feeling small. But now, something completely unexpected had arrived. I pushed the door open, stepping inside, unsure of what I would find, but ready to face it. I stepped into the suite, my hands still trembling, unsure of what I was walking into. The room was elegant, quiet, and completely different from the noisy chaos of the ballroom I had just left. My heart pounded in my chest as I looked around, expecting someone to scold me or tell me I didn't belong. Instead, a man stood near the window, looking calm and welcoming. He was tall, with neat hair and a kind but serious expression. "You must be Avery Dalton," he said, his voice steady. "I'm Elias Corrin. I'm the CEO of this hotel." I blinked, caught off guard. "The CEO?" I whispered. He smiled gently. "Yes. I knew your mentor, Mr. Halden, very well. He spoke highly of you." My stomach tightened. Memories of Mr. Halden rushed back. The way he had believed in me, the lessons he taught me, the encouragement he gave me when I had none. I hadn't expected anyone here to even remember him, let alone care about me. Elias gestured toward a chair. "Please sit down. I want to explain something important." I sat, clutching my bag. My mind raced, and my chest felt heavy with a mix of hope and fear. "You are a partial owner of this hotel chain," Elias began, his tone calm but firm. "Your shares legally activated today. The paperwork just cleared. From this moment on, you have full authority here. That means you have the right to make decisions, to manage events, and to oversee this property if you choose." I stared at him, my hands tightening around the strap of my bag. I wanted to say something, anything, but no words came. He continued, his eyes kind. "I also want to apologize for how the staff treated you earlier. No one should ever be humiliated or made to feel less, especially not someone who has a right to be here. You should never be treated like an outsider in your own property." A strange wave of relief and validation washed over me, mixed with fear. Relief that someone finally acknowledged my worth. Validation that my years of hard work and dedication meant something. Fear, because this responsibility was enormous, and I had never handled anything of this scale before. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I didn't know, I whispered. I had no idea any of this was happening today. Elias nodded. It's new, I know. But you're ready. You're capable. And tonight, I want you to know that you have an ally here. You don't have to face this alone. For the first time in hours, maybe even years, I felt a small sense of calm. The anger and hurt from my family still burned, but now it was mixed with something stronger. I realized, sitting there in that quiet, elegant suite, that I wasn't powerless anymore. I had someone in my corner, someone who saw my value, and for the first time that night, I felt like I could finally start taking control of my life. Elias sat across from me and opened a folder filled with papers. My eyes widened as he began explaining everything clearly, step by step. He showed me the details of my ownership, what I could do, and how much power I now had in the hotel. I learned that I could approve or cancel events, change guest lists, and even decide who could enter certain areas. Every word made my heart beat faster. You have full authority here, Elias said gently. If someone is causing trouble or treating you unfairly, you have the right to stop it. You can make decisions about the property however you see fit. I swallowed hard. The thought made me feel both nervous and excited. For years, my family had dismissed me, mocked me, and made me feel invisible. And now, in this building, the tables could finally turn. I could make them see that I was no longer powerless. He looked at me kindly. Would you like to stay for the evening? I paused, thinking about the party outside. My family, laughing and celebrating, completely unaware of the change in my life. The hurt I felt still lingered, but so did a burning determination. Yes, I said slowly, my voice steady. I want to stay, but not just quietly. I want to be seen. I want them to know exactly who they pushed away. Elias nodded, understanding. Then let's make sure you can do that safely. You have the right to be here, and the staff will follow your instructions. I felt a mix of fear and strength building inside me. The idea of walking back into that party, facing my family, and showing them that I was no longer the powerless one, it made my heart race. I could see it clearly now, the chance to take back control, to make them realize the mistake they had made, and to finally stand tall in a place I owned. He walked me through a few simple steps on how to manage events and make decisions on the spot. Every explanation made me feel more confident. I realized that I didn't need to shout or make a scene. I could assert myself quietly but firmly, letting the situation unfold naturally while still holding all the power. When he finished, I took a deep breath and looked out the window at the hotel lights shining in the night. I could see the party inside, hear the faint laughter, and imagine the faces that had hurt me so deeply. But now, I knew that I wasn't invisible anymore. I straightened my shoulders, feeling a rush of confidence. This was my space. I had the authority. I had someone who believed in me. And for the first time that evening, I felt like I was ready to step back into the hotel, not as the girl they dismissed, but as someone who had the power to change everything. For the first time in years, I felt the control shift in my favor. I wasn't just going back to the hotel. I was going back to reclaim what was mine. And this time, they would have no choice but to see me. I walked back into the hotel lobby, my heart pounding, escorted by senior hotel staff who looked professional and serious. The bright lights and music from the party seemed distant now, replaced by the weight of what I was about to do. I felt a mix of nerves and determination, but I knew I had to face them. As soon as my Aunt Lynette saw me, her face twisted in surprise and anger. "Avery, what are you doing back here?" she demanded, stepping toward me. The security guards who had escorted me earlier now stood firm. They didn't move when she gestured or shouted. Her authority, which had been absolute moments ago, suddenly meant nothing. I could see the shock on her face as she realized she couldn't push me out this time. The event manager stepped forward, his voice clear and respectful. "Ms. Dalton, co-owner of this property," he announced. Every word felt like it carried weight, like a hammer striking at the image my family had built of me as powerless and invisible. I froze for just a second, letting it sink in. The entire lobby went quiet. Guests whispered to each other, glancing at my family. Marissa's confident smirk vanished, replaced by wide eyes and a pale face. Everyone seemed frozen, unsure of what to do next. I looked at my aunt, my parents, and then at Marissa. I could feel years of hurt, humiliation, and anger rising, but I forced myself to stay calm. My voice didn't shake, though my chest felt heavy. "You kicked me out of a place I partially own," I said, each word clear and deliberate. There was a silence that felt like it lasted forever. I could see my aunt's jaw tighten, my parents shift uncomfortably, and Marissa's lips pressed together in disbelief. The guests around us were murmuring quietly, sensing the tension but unsure of the details. I took a slow breath, keeping my head high. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to beg or explain. The simple truth carried more power than any argument I could make. For the first time, I felt completely seen. Not just by the staff, not just by Elias, but by everyone who had treated me like I didn't matter. I had been invisible for too long, and now, finally, the balance had shifted. I didn't give them a chance to interrupt or defend themselves. I just held their gaze, letting the truth sink in. They had underestimated me, dismissed me, and humiliated me in front of others. And now, the tables had turned. The lobby remained quiet, the party continuing in the background, but it no longer felt important. In that moment, all that mattered was the look on their faces and the knowledge that I finally had the power to stand up for myself. I felt a calm strength settle over me. This was my moment, and no one could take it away. After I spoke, the room stayed quiet. Everyone stared at me, unsure how to react. I could feel their shock, their embarrassment, and even a little fear. Marissa's eyes were wide, and my aunt's face was tight with anger. My parents looked uncomfortable, as if they suddenly realized how badly they had treated me. Elias stepped forward, his calm presence making everyone pause. Because of the way the family treated an owner of this property, he said politely but firmly, the hotel management is reviewing whether the contract for this event will continue. Any future arrangements will be carefully considered. Aunt Lynette's jaw dropped, and Marissa's confidence faltered. Their whispers and murmurs were frantic now. Guests nearby started glancing at them, sensing the tension, while some even looked toward me with curiosity. I could see that the balance had shifted completely. Then came the begging. My parents, my aunt, and even Marissa turned to me, their voices suddenly soft and apologetic. "Avery, please don't make this a bigger problem," my mother said nervously. "Can't we just work this out?" "Sweetheart, let's calm down and handle this quietly," my father added, trying to keep control. Marissa looked almost desperate. "Avery, I didn't mean anything. Please, can we talk?" For a moment, I felt the old instinct to smooth things over, to apologize for the awkwardness, to try to make them like me again. But the new me, the me who had been ignored, humiliated, and dismissed for years, knew better. I had waited too long to be recognized. I had earned my place, and I wouldn't give it away just to make them feel better. "No," I said calmly, holding their eyes. "This isn't about smoothing anything over. This isn't about making it easier for you. I won't let my position be used just because it suddenly benefits you. You made your choice." They fell silent again, their faces pale and unsure. I could see the realization hitting them. I wasn't the same person they had dismissed all these years. I had power now, authority, and I wasn't afraid to use it responsibly. I turned and walked toward the ballroom doors, the staff following me respectfully. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Let them handle the fallout. Let them face the consequences of their behavior. I didn't have to be part of their drama anymore. As I left the room, I felt a strange mix of relief and quiet satisfaction. The laughter and celebration continued behind me, but it no longer mattered. I had taken control, I had stood up for myself, and I had let my family, and the hotel, know that I was no longer invisible. For the first time in a long time, I felt completely free. I wasn't angry for the sake of anger. I wasn't seeking revenge in a harsh way. I was simply taking my rightful place and letting them see that actions have consequences. That night, I walked away with my head held high, knowing I had done what needed to be done. I returned to the owner's suite, my legs shaking and my chest heavy, but there was a strange sense of calm settling over me. The room felt quiet and safe, a sharp contrast to the chaos of the party and my family's yelling. I sank into a chair, holding my hands together, finally letting myself breathe. For the first time that night, I felt free from their control. I thought about everything that had happened, the humiliation, the whispers, the laughter at my expense. My aunt, my parents, my cousin, they had all treated me like I didn't matter. But now none of that could reach me the same way. I didn't need to fight them with anger, and I didn't need to punish them. I had something better, my power, my authority, and my own life to focus on. The event contract for the ballroom was officially suspended. The hotel would handle it from now on, and I didn't have to get involved in the drama. I let the staff manage everything, knowing I had made the decision that mattered most. to stand up for myself and set boundaries. I wouldn't protect them anymore. I wouldn't make excuses for their behavior. They had their choice, and now they would live with it. Later, my phone rang. It was my grandparents. Hearing their voices made my heart ache a little, but I could tell they were sincere. They apologized for not knowing what had happened and for letting things go so far without speaking up. I listened quietly, letting them talk, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I realized that not everyone in my family had been against me. Some just didn't know the truth. I reassured them gently, letting them know I understood. I wasn't angry at them. They weren't responsible for my aunt and cousin's cruelty. But I made it clear that things would be different from now on. I was no longer the invisible one, the one they could ignore or dismiss. As I hung up, I looked around the suite. The city lights outside the window sparkled like tiny promises, and I felt a new sense of hope. For the first time in years, I could focus on myself, my work, and my future without worrying about being judged or overlooked. I had a support system now, Elias and the hotel staff who believed in me, and I knew I could rely on them as I learned to navigate this new world of responsibility. I sat back, letting the relief wash over me. I was hurt, yes, but I was also stronger. I had taken my place, claimed my voice, and finally started living a life where I wasn't invisible, unwanted, or underestimated. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a future built on my own terms. One where I was respected, valued, and free. And in that moment, I smiled quietly to myself, knowing that this was just the beginning of the life I had always deserved.